Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Friday evening to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there and staying safe. Some pretty crazy weather's been ongoing this afternoon. Fortunately, I haven't heard any crazy reports of any big time damage, any loss of life, certainly I haven't heard of any injuries or anything like that. But we have definitely had a tornado outbreak in Nebraska this afternoon. Really started off really early this afternoon, and as I speak right now, we could have some tornadoes on the ground, but we're here to give you an update on what could potentially happen tomorrow. But this afternoon has been wild. Reed Timmer drove I call it a machine, it's the Dominator, drove it right into a tornado, which is what he always is aiming to do. He drives a vehicle that's very heavy, low to the ground, and it was pretty wild for you folks who are certainly show a lot of engagement in the weather community, watch the storm chasers, things like that. I'm sure a lot of folks have seen it. If you haven't, I'll try to remember to link it in the community tab, but pretty wild stuff. But I hope you guys are staying safe out there in the plains. It's been some pretty active weather. It's going to continue to be active overnight tonight and then into tomorrow. And a lot of other areas could see a lot of storm activity too, and a lot of rain. So we're going to give you a pretty quick update on what could happen. I was thinking about not even doing a video tonight, but I want to get you guys some information and keep you guys ahead of the storm for tomorrow. So if you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, you know the deal, please put it in the comments below so I can pray over it and so others can do so too. We take a look at the satellite out here. This thing, I can tell you on satellite, it looks absolutely beautiful. It's a cyclone right dab in the middle of the country as this low pressure continues to spin away. And as you can tell, you see these bubbling cumulus clouds that explode. Of course, we talked about this morning about how there was going to be a big area of storms that was going to be ongoing. Well, get going in northern Mexico and then turn into a huge cluster of storms as it enters southern southwest Texas, and that is doing so right now. But the big story here is a highly favored kinematic environment. Kinematic meaning there's a lot of wind energy that supports tornadic activity, and it is certainly maximized today. It was something they call the NATOcast. It's an experimental thing that they use. It's not what the Storm Prediction Center uses, but it's kind of an experimental thing. It hits some and it misses some. Here locally in South Carolina, it hit on a tornado outbreak here in April of last year, but it issued a pretty high risk for tornadoes, and in the exact area that got it earlier this afternoon continues to have the threat, and it nailed it. For people who are active in the weather community, you've probably heard of the NATOcast, but it did very well with this. Maybe I'll show some graphics of that here in the future with some setups. But intense spin, and right where you're close to this spin, you have a spin to the atmosphere, and you see these blowing up of clouds right here. That is those tornado-producing supercells in this line of storms that is rapidly moving fast. These storms are moving at pretty high speeds, and these storms are beginning to enter southwest and western areas of Iowa this afternoon and this evening. So area of storms exploding too along a dry line that's setting up here. You can see everything very well on the satellite here. You see in this area right here where there's hardly no storm development, more stable dry air, and then you have the puffy cumulus clouds right into this region where there's moist air. Then you got storm activity just outflow driven out here in the deep south too. Well, where it'll, the entire eastern U.S. will stand a good chance to see storms. It's just, are they going to be severe or not? So bear with me. As you can tell, it's a little different than what I show. The fine folks at the Weather Lab, it's called WeatherTap.com. You ever thought about me getting a subscription here? It's an awesome place. Somebody reached out to me in email and just offered me a free subscription to just kind of show their site. And a month and a half later, I'm finally doing it, and I got a chance to play around with it at work today, and it's really awesome. And this is the storms ongoing right now. Anything you see in purple, that is tornado warnings. So whether that is radar indicated, which doesn't mean it's confirmed, or it's actually a confirmed tornado, or it's a damaging tornado. In fact, this one says tornado observed. So right here near O'Neill, Nebraska, watch out. But you see this huge tail whipping feature right here. It looks like a shrimp, right? This is a clear signal of a low pressure right here. You see the spin right here. Almost looks like a mini hurricane over land. And these are some powerful storms. So Sioux City, Sioux Falls, getting into southwest South Dakota, southeast South Dakota. Please be aware of these. Even into Omaha, watch out with these storms. Anything you see in the purple on this, that is tornado warnings. And then this red area right here. So tornado watch. And if you zone down and you go back down here a little bit, and give this a second to come into frame here, there is a lot going on here. A lot of severe thunderstorm warnings and a big area of storms down here. And then we have storm activity also here. Just give it a minute and I'm sure the resolution will come in a little bit better here in a second. Here it is. You can tell these storms are moving in all kinds of directions out here. That tells me that they're outflow driven, meaning these storms kind of shoot off an outflow boundary and then they explode and then they fall apart as quickly as they explode. But you actually have more of a flow up here with some storms kind of moving in, more of I would say an east-northeast directional flow out here. But the flow will shift over the next couple days in this entire region over the weekend, and it will move more so out the northwest than northeast. It's basically, there's an area of high pressure up here in Canada, and this is actually preventing this low pressure from just continuing to eject across the northern plains into Canada. That's why we've had a multi-day setup with this same system starting in Colorado a couple days ago. This thing is moving very slowly because, and I wish I had my little cursor pulled up, because there's an area of high pressure building in right here. This is preventing this from continuing to move north, and eventually it'll continue to weaken as it just kind of continues to rub up against this ridge of high pressure, and this energy will actually get pushed back southeast across the Midwest and the Ohio Valley, which will give us what we have here, which is a slight risk of severe storms over portions of Iowa and northern Illinois, and then a marginal risk also. And then we have another day of severe weather expected in Oklahoma and Texas, but you cannot rule out severe storms and all the area that you see in light green too, where you have a general risk. As of now, you just have a 5% risk of a tornado, but you had the 5% risk of a tornado today too, before it updated to a 10% risk after we had already had numerous tornadoes. Be careful in Iowa tomorrow, okay? I would say more so north and northeast and east of Des Moines, getting into the Davenport areas and portions of kind of north central and northwest Illinois. I would watch out for this to upgrade to a 10% risk. In fact, the Storm Prediction Center mentioned it in an early discussion this morning, but you got a 5% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in any given location. These storms will be slow moving because this energy is slowing down. It's slowing down. Actually, I think you'll have some weird directional flow out there in Iowa tomorrow. I really do. But there's a 15% risk of winds pushing 50 knots or higher also. That's 55 to 60 miles per hour. And then the hail threat tomorrow. No hatched risk as of yet, but you have a 15% risk of 1 inch in diameter or larger in hail. But I would watch this tornado threat tomorrow. I think it's maximizing right now, but I would watch to see if it increases on the next update or two here in the next several hours. But we'll start off tomorrow morning. You're going to have, if we back it up here, these storms that are leaving Nebraska will continue to drift into southeast South Dakota. Western Iowa, please be careful overnight tonight, all the way up to midnight, all the way past midnight. I don't have my Google Maps pulled up on my phone to name a couple cities, but I would say Ames, Des Moines, you're going to probably wake up at 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning to some hefty storms. And then we watch to see how the atmosphere rejuices back up tomorrow. Low pressure is weakening substantially at this point, but you still got energy left over, and you're going to have widespread storms fire up in Iowa again, even into southern Minnesota. This is around 2, 3 p.m. tomorrow. You see these little areas of storms. I promise you guys I'll get a little bit closer on Iowa tomorrow. But then as we get to the 4 to 5 p.m. range, look at the region, the Illinois-Iowa state line here. These could be tornadic producing storms. These could produce some tornadoes right here. Des Moines right in here, Ames, just any communities right in here. Please watch out. Large hail and tornadoes are possible in this region. Kinematics will support it. You got to watch where a boundary sets up, a warm front sets up over the region. You keep it going, you get into 6 to 7 p.m. You could have some more storms that fire up over the same areas. I think these storms will just be kind of slow moving. They'll kind of be refiring over the same area in Iowa tomorrow. This might help stabilize the atmosphere somewhat, but I'd watch these storms into here. I'd watch these storms down here. I'd watch to see if there's any storms into northern Illinois that's not necessarily showing up on this run of the HRRR model. But remember, models aren't gospel. They're just used for guidance. But I want to watch these storms down here too in Tennessee, and we'll talk about it here in a second. But the significant tornado parameter in Iowa tomorrow, there's going to be a boundary right into here. And you see how this increases. It's around 3-4 p.m. tomorrow. Des Moines, Ames right into here. Any of the communities in Iowa right here, kind of in south central Iowa. Forgive me for not having some town names to spit out for you guys to help y'all out. But, parameter readings 4 to 5. They could spike to a 6, but don't focus too much on that. Anything above a 1 supports tornadic activity in this region. If you look at the updraft Felicity swath in this region, you certainly have some areas that are being pinpointed right here in central Iowa into areas of Illinois tomorrow. I want to watch these storms as they're forming right now. They have already formed in areas of Texas, southwest Texas. These will continue. There could be some damaging winds with this. Very strong storms. It's going to basically be a very rainy, stormy night for all of western, especially southwestern Texas. And then I would say as it gets into just after midnight, the heart of Texas, you guys, Abilene, getting into San Antonio, Austin, you guys just start to get a lot of storm activity after midnight tonight. Could produce a lot of heavy rain. You got to watch out for any flash flooding threat emerging overnight tonight. That needs to be watched out. It's not being talked about as much because of the tornado threat, but look at these storms down here in southern Texas. It's around 6-7 a.m. tomorrow morning in Texas, and you continue to watch this, and you have what we call a mesoscale convective vortex right over here over western Texas, the panhandle of Texas, which means it's basically the same thing as a mesoscale convective system, except the vortex has a spin to it. And we're going to watch to see what this does and see if the atmosphere recovers from the morning convection around 4, 5, 6 p.m. tomorrow afternoon in areas of North Texas, southern Oklahoma. If it does, watch out for a tornado risk along the Red River region into here. This little spin creates its own kinematic environment almost. Spins the atmosphere. So please be careful in this region, Red River, North Texas, southern Oklahoma. These storms could be intense. In and around the Houston, the Corpus Christi area, you could have the rejuvenation of some storms tomorrow afternoon to tomorrow evening in these regions for sure. Rainfall between now and Monday morning, 3 to 6 inches of rain is possible in southern Texas. Central Texas, 2 to 4 inches of rain is possible. Even a good bit of rain here in southern Oklahoma also. So you guys are going to continue to see a lot of rain down here. If you look at I'm not going to pull it up. I'll pull it up in the morning just to keep you guys updated. But, if you look at the excessive rainfall outlook, you do have a moderate risk down here. So please do not ignore. I had a comment this morning. It was very interesting. I didn't realize this. San Antonio, I think they said San Antonio. Forgive me if that's not what you said, but might have been San Angelo. But had 11 inches of rain on the year last year. I mean, that's pretty wild. So some folks out here are going to get half of that just in a day or two. So please be aware. The southeast, mid-south, places like that, starting off tomorrow morning. Could be waking up some showers and storms in Tennessee, western Kentucky tomorrow morning. And then we'll watch some sea breeze thunderstorms that might fire up off it's funny, I didn't tell you guys, but I'm actually going to the beach for the day at Folly Beach tomorrow. Me and my girls, taking my mom there. It's kind of a Mother's Day gift from my mom. And surprised I hadn't mentioned that to you guys yet. So I'll be down here, right here in Folly Beach. So I'd watch out for some, maybe some sea breeze storms or some storms developing just inland. So if you are going to be at the beach, from I would say the coastline of Georgia all the way through South Carolina, watch out for some early afternoon thunderstorm development. And then we have a little bit of a flow beginning because remember, the area of high pressure is beginning to block our system up here. And I would watch for some big storm development here in the Boot Heel of Missouri tomorrow. Tomorrow afternoon it's possible. I would say central and western areas of Tennessee's favor for some storms. But then you stop it right here. This is 6 or 7 p.m. depending on your time zone. You got storms in Mississippi, some storm activity in southwest Arkansas, Louisiana, Alabama, Georgia, really anywhere. I would honestly say my confidence is the highest in North Georgia. I'm pretty confident in this area right here, but North Georgia, the Carolinas, I'm expecting a little bit of a northwest flow, meaning energy coming in from the northwest. Watch for a cluster of storms from North Georgia, the Carolinas, and Virginia tomorrow afternoon. Don't let these surprise you. It'll heat up big time tomorrow, and then maybe an area of storms that sweep through. This won't be more so pulse in nature. They will form, move from the northwest to the southeast, and certainly could catch you off guard if you're outside grilling or in a pool in a local pond or lake. So definitely be aware of this. These storms could sweep throughout the afternoon in the Carolinas and Georgia and Virginia for sure. There is a risk Sunday for severe weather. I think this is going to be more so a damaging wind threat and a hail threat. We'll give you a more detailed update on that probably tomorrow night. There's a chance I might not get a video tomorrow night because I'll be exhausted from being at the beach all day with my little girls. But I will have a video in the morning for you folks. But that's all I got, guys. It kind of stinks. I flew through that video with such clarity, I felt like. But then I go back to this morning's video, and I feel like I was sloppy. And I know that this video is not going to get viewed near as much because there's a lot of people going live and things like that. But that's just how it goes, guys. But I appreciate anybody who's tuned in. Stay safe out there. God bless. And I'll talk to you in the morning.